So today is the last session. We've had sessions around tracing trends of gender based violence, looking at changes, how it impacted different communities from Dalits to Adivasis to women in general, both through international change in policies and through local collectives. We've had two sessions, particularly around digital platform based gender based violence, also a session particularly around stalking and surveillance. All these were extremely interesting. Speakers have really shared a lot of insights. And today we are ending it with a very special session. We felt very much that when we talk about an interest or a commitment towards addressing gender based violence, um, in terms of the way we look at heroes in our lives, people whom we admire, people whom we respect. It's mostly uh, men of a particular class and caste. There is a legacy of ownership for that kind of space that belongs to a particular caste, class, and gender, which excludes women and people from marginalized groups, especially those who address gender based violence. So we felt it important for us to build a collective memory, show our respect for, for this kind of engagement. And that is what I would be sharing with you all. It is something that we would like to uh, discuss together too. It's not a comprehensive list of names. So the attempt is to just create a space where we as a sisterhood look at this particular aspect of our life, which may be a small gap. Rena, are the slides clear? Okay.
Put it on full screen. Yeah. Okay. You click sound, no, for the last song?
Yeah, I will. Oh, right now?
No, it doesn't matter then. It doesn't matter. We'll figure out. You'll have to go out, stop share, and come back. That's okay. Later.
So, as a sisterhood, can we together build memories, also spotlight and showcase women among us, those before us, who have really played a role, who have faced violence, who have spoken up, who have accompanied those who have faced violence, and those who have fought for protection, for change in laws and policies. The attempt is to honor such women together. Some of them are alive and with us. Some are have moved on, but live by what they have inspired us to do. Okay. So the idea of building a legacy of resistance, of resilience among us as a community, we would like to spotlight strong women with agency and those with a strong sense of justice, acknowledging them as our foremothers, hoping we can build on to their legacy with stories that touch that spot in our heart that inspires love and respect for them. May their tribe increase and their footprints leave a mark that we will keep with us. In the fight to end gender based violence, many of these faces are familiar to you. People from different walks of life, actors, writers, lawyers, activists, organizers, community leaders, faces, some of whom are familiar, some who may not be. Maybe we need to spend more time looking at some of them. But we have a long way to go. But this is our way of paying a homage to their efforts. All of them, some known and some unknown, have paid a huge price in their personal lives, physical, emotional, many a times financial, and also being othered by their own dear ones, having to face a lonely life ahead when you decide to do something like this. As a society, why are we doing this in this particular way on the last day? Because we felt that would be kind of more appropriate, because we as a society tend to valorize men, those from a particular caste, class, and gender hierarchy, as I mentioned. In religion, too, it is the same kind of people who hold places of prominence. Sensitive to this gender bias that is perpetuated in our communities, it's important for us to correct and transform that narrative consciously. So we nurture an awareness that is deep rooted both in our individual and collective consciousness about people who have taken the risk of fighting for justice, those who have taken prophetic steps to establish systemic change, even when there was opposition from those who want to sustain orthodox traditions. It's time for us to change our narrative. Why also? Because we as a sisterhood need to find ways in which we care better for each other, particularly victims and survivors across diverse identities who may gain from our support. Care and solidarity is an antidote to violence, as in lifting each other up to equality, we increase the chances for justice to prevail. Why? Also because we need to fill this gap. We almost unknowingly create a safe distance between us. We stay away. Be the right people who stay away from problems, and them, the wrong people who are unreliable, who support the fight for justice. The bias often extends beyond survivors of sexual assault to individuals from marginalized groups, trans women, people with disabilities, migrants, minority women, and those Adivasis who face a high level of displacement and marginalization. This story needs spotlighting also because of our historical blindness. We need to speak more often, promote icons who champion caring, healing, safeguarding, and justice. I think many of those here who are attending the session are also champions. And so I think you could relate to this because you know the cost you pay for being who you are. Fierce battles for justice are often fought behind closed doors, in isolated roads, in neighborhoods, in institutions, and in courtrooms. Many people are nameless, but their fight for justice is no less important, and it all adds up to this legacy of fighting for justice and building a more equal society. These are a mix of pictures, and you can have a look for yourself. Who are the people we celebrate, remember, and honor? And who are the ones we tend to miss out? Politicians, actors, and sports people usually take the limelight. The rest are just seen in passing. We also need to be open to the biases that we ourselves hold, which keeps us away from engaging with people, engaging with victims and survivors. Because often in our culture, sexual harassment is trivialized, thus creating a behavioral pattern when stronger expressions of violence are normalized. We need to be more aware that sexual violence is not about pleasing, not about teasing, and least of all about loving. It is a projection of power and its misuse to intimidate and violate the victim. Sexual assault on women and vulnerable people are often blamed back on the victim. We've all heard comments about Why were you there? What were you wearing? Did you smile too much? Did you laugh too loud? All kinds of reasons. And we continuously hear of the othering of victims and also with their blaming and shaming. Similarly, enforcing stereotypes of masculinity and femininity. That's something we might feel comfortable with, but never realize that this is also a form of gender based violence. Not everybody related to us, close to us, need to feel the same level of masculinity or femininity. This stereotyping is often normalized as part of our culture to be perfect, to be graceful, to be aggressive enough if you're a man, to be silent enough if you're a woman, to be dressed in a particular way. While the calibration might change from location to different cultures and families, it is still many a times a very controlling factor in the way we bring up people, the way we relate to people, the way we comment, control, and ridicule others. Opposing stereotypes is often met with violence. It might sound extremely trivial, but it can be a huge form of violence, especially when for those who don't fit in to the calibration that is being demanded from them. These gaps that are there in our own biases are something that we need to continuously learn and transform ourselves with. This is something that we need for ourselves. We are not saying that we are wrong, but we are not always right also. So there needs to be some self reflection as we grow in this journey against gender based violence. Whilst a case may be lost or won, the struggles often leave a footprint in the hearts of the survivor, those who supported, those who stayed as bystanders, accused, and those who actively support crime. Be it the historic farmers' protest in Delhi or the Asha workers in Kerala, the journalists who've consistently followed stories of survivors at great personal cost, lawyers who have fought cases of rape survivors of riots and majoritarian violence. Often these stories are never retold, heard, or analyzed. Thus, we fail to learn and evolve, leaving out stories, doing injustice to the generations to come. Today, we attempt in a small way to put together instances of a good fight, resilience, of healing, and of struggle. Also, we accept in humility that often, as much as we think they are very committed and we might be extremely sensitive, but many a times we are caught in our own web of activities. We often fail to notice people in our own circles who might be lonely in their struggles and then get noticed only as a news item. Died by suicide, unexplained death. This is common in our families, in our communities and neighborhoods. Uh, we always think it happens somewhere else, but we need to remember the one time that it happened in our own spaces is something where we might have been able to engage and support. And so I would invite us all to say this together. You could unmute. Collectively, we ask, give us the grace,
wisdom, and
wisdom
to support rather than
rather than
isolate
isolate people
in need of our support.
support.
Help us to reach out rather than doubt
doubt
victims of sexual violence. Inspire us to see value
in
in staying
staying
committed when the battle is too long and lonely. When the cost is high, the recognition negative may we persist.
Thank you.
The
As we
first
move
group
on.
that we reflect on are the survivors. So the first one we talk about is Bhanwari Devi. In 1985, she became a sathi or a friend and was employed by the government of Rajasthan, and she took up the issue of child marriage. A grassroots social worker whose fight for justice began after she was gang raped in 1992. And she became a catalyst for legal reform. Her case directly led to the Supreme Court establishing the landmark Vishakha guidelines in 1997, to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace. A moment of silence as we give gratitude for Bhanwari Devi. We then have Sister R, the survivor of sexual assault and rape by the bishop. She dared to file a complaint with the police and continues to pursue her case, a lonely battle, as she faces alienation from her mission, her religious congregation, good Christians who side with the bishop, and the hierarchy. In silence, we send her energies of strength and courage to continue her fight. The sisters who support her, her own sister Alfie and her companions Ansita and Lizzie, who have demonstrated by their lives the cost one pays to support a survivor of sexual assault, ostracized from their community and from their mission. We send energies of comfort and support to Alfie, Anisetta, and Lizzie. Annie Jace took up a leadership role as part of a team to ensure that the school managed by her congregation was not taken over illegally by the hierarchy. She pursued the case legally and institutionally at great personal cost. We thank her for what she did, thank God for the strength she had, and send her energies of support. We then talk of Bilkis Banu, gang raped, her family members murdered by a mob during the 2002 Gujarat riots after a prolonged legal battle. The 11 men were convicted in 2008 and sentenced to life imprisonment. However, in August 2022, they were granted early release by the Gujarat government, which sparked widespread outrage and legal challenges. In January 2024, the Supreme Court annulled the release, ordered the convicts to return to prison. We reach out in silence, sending energies of strength to Bilkis Banu and gratitude to her lawyers and others who accompanied her. We have Lakshmi Agarwal, an acid attack survivor. She became a prominent campaigner to stop acid attacks. She was attacked at the age of 15 for rejecting a man's advances. She gathered 27,000 signatures for a petition to curb acid sales, which led the Supreme Court to order central and state governments to regulate the sale of acid. She's the director of the Chan Foundation, an NGO helping acid attack survivors. We thank God with gratitude for the resilience and strength that she showed. And we send her energies of solidarity for the work she continues doing for similar victims. We think of Manjula Pradeep, a prominent Dalit activist and a survivor of child sexual abuse. Pradeep uses her own experience to help other survivors seek justice. She has assisted over 50 Dalit rape survivors in their legal battles and emphasizes the need for community education and legal training for Dalit women. She has served previously as the executive director of Nafsarjan, a Dalit rights organization. Put it on pause, Anita. On the top in the black strip, you'll have pause.
Yeah, it's done.
No, it's still sharing.
I made
Pause
it pause.
share.
You want to stop share?
Pause
It's
share.
paused. That is done. The screen sharing is paused.
But we can still see the screen. Okay, stop share and then you'll have to restart then because we can't see each other otherwise. This is the moment for us to, if any one of you can think of survivors you know, in your families, in your communities, people you've assisted, just give us their name and a sentence, and we remember them and give gratitude for their strength and send them energies of strength.
I don't know of a survivor, but I know of somebody who mentored a survivor. Are you coming to those categories later?
We'll come to that a little later.
Thank you.
Yeah. I am thinking of the nun at who was during the Kandamal.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Yeah.
Go ahead, Claire. You're better at talking about her.
I think you can also say it.
No, go ahead, Claire.
Okay. She was courageous enough to come out in the public in Delhi after a month or two, where the media covered. Later, she did her psychology MA. She completed her law studies. Then she was working for a year or two with a free legal aid. Then she was made superior. Now she is in the formation of the congregation for the young ones. There were moments when she had to regularly go to the court to identify, and the case is still not finished. But at least 5 men are inside, but the main culprit is still not inside. But till now, she keeps up the congregation. Also, there were people who didn't understand and accept. They were having the stereotype look at her. But now she's overcome and she's helping many women who are going through this abuse and rape.
We remember her in prayer. Anyone can share.
Flavia Agnes, the survivor, well-known survivor of domestic violence, who was given support by the women's movement to move out of her to move away from her abusive husband with her children. She pursued a law degree and she opened an NGO to help victims of domestic violence. And she not only empowered herself, she's empowered many other women and helped many survivors. So we pay homage to uh, Flavia. We remember her and pray for her now because she's in old age and she has some illnesses. So we pray for Flavia and we pay her homage and are very grateful for what she's done.
Thanks, Virginia.
Move on, Rena. Maybe as we do the next sections, people would remember.
Yeah. After each of these sections, we will say a couple of pledges before we go to the next section. So with me, you can say it with your mics on mute or unmuted, up to you. Full screen, Anita, please. I pledge to trust survivors and work
to
to
understand
understand systems and norms that seek to silence and discredit them. I pledge to listen to and elevate the voices of women. I will educate myself and I will ask women how I can be a better ally in preventing violence. Anita?
We now move to the next section of Transformers. The attempt was just to spotlight people in different roles. This category might be overlapping, but just a way of trying to ensure that we have few people who kind of reflect different roles in support. We start from within our community. A Christian response to the signs of our times. We have so much inspiration here within our circle of known people. We start with Sister Nirmalini, President of the CRWI, past President of CRI. She has worked very hard to instigate a culture of care within Catholic religious community by initiating the grievance cell, redressal cell, and a safeguarding program that supports survivors and inspires transformation. Making caregiving and caregivers more visible, truly a much needed humane feminist leadership. Sister Hazel, who stood up for victims of sexual assault, continued to lead without compromising on her convictions, taking up systemic issues, combining her leadership, community concerns with academic rigor. Her report, which she co-authored with Sister Noella here, It's High Time, is a historic publication that has made a mark in understanding forms of gender-based discrimination within our community. Would also like to remember Mary Roy for her very fierce fight for equal inheritance, the right for Christian women that was made rightful and legal because of her individual effort to approach the court and take it up as a matter of changing the law itself. Okay.
You'll have to
now invite you to share any examples of people who have worked on transforming society from your circle. of people who have inspired you?
I'd like to give gratitude for Virginia and the role she has played in abuse cases, in collating them, in being the voice for the voiceless, and her tireless fight for trying to get the church to see that it needs to respond to survivors of clergy abuse. So we give gratitude and we pray, give our respects and acknowledge the great work God does through Virginia.
I like to remember Sister
Go on,
Kamala,
Anjali.
SND. She has really helped many religious, those who are seeking new ways, and she accompanied so many of us. I really pay homage to her.
I want to remember so many unsung heroines we don't know about, and still they give their whole life. We just know people in our circle, but there are so many women, there are so many sisters who work so hard and tirelessly for
We
this.
come to them, Novella.
Sorry?
We have the unknown ones coming.
Okay.
I want to remember Sister Lucy, who's given a new way of living religious life in collaboration with so many people and really becoming a very strong catalyst to bring about change. In spite of a lot of struggles that she has been through, personally, institutionally, she continues to keep the fire strong and to spread it, that very many people join hands with her in bringing about transformation.
Lucy Kurian.
Yeah, Lucy Kurian.
I'd also
I'd
like
like
to
to remember
acknowledge.
Srivani and oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would like to acknowledge Kochirani and Aruna here for their contribution to feminist theology. I think a voice that is less heard and is so intentionally engaged with, I think it does transform spaces of discussion, of narratives. So thank you, Aruna and Kochu, for what you're doing.
I'd like to bring in Srivani, Julie, and Helen, and their legal team, as well as the social workers and counselors that make them up, for the work they do, reaching out to domestic workers who face abuse, as well as cases of marriage disputes, etc. We give gratitude and more power to them.
I'd like to remember Sister Shanti, who's no more. Yeah, she also was a feminist theologian, fighting against the clergy and the patriarchy, violence within the church.
I also want to remember Brynel D'Souza through JCoR leading us, especially women religious. She's leading the project of empowerment of women religious in India, and also along with her Anita and Teresa from New York. So I give thanks for Brynel, Teresa, and Anita over here.
Maybe we can go to
Brynel?
the
Yeah. We'll have more chances to take up more names. For now, we'll just continue so that we can run through the list that is there. So now we just move to this pledge. Those of you who would like to unmute and read this out together,
No,
please
not
do
this
so.
one. Not this one. It's the next one. After Transformers.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I pledge to learn what resources are available
Available
for supporting survivors
survivors
in my
in my
workplace
workplace
and
and
community,
community.
although
Although
I'll never take
never
any
take any
action
action
without
without
the
the
survivors'
survivors'
explicit
explicit
consent.
consent.
I
I
pledge
pledge
to
to reflect
reflect on my own
on my own
identity,
identity,
attitudes,
attitudes,
and
and
behaviors
behavior
as
as
they
they
relate
relate
to
to
power
power
and
and
privilege,
privilege,
and to
to
educate
educate myself
on how to
how
be
to be
accountable
accountable
to
survivors
to
survivors
survivors
of
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 gender-based
gender-based
violence.
violence.
Our next section, the ones that we give honor to and remember, are lawyers and journalists. These are the ones who have gone way beyond what their profession demands to support survivors and tell their stories. We have just a few mentioned over here: Indira Jai Singh, Tista Setalvad, Vrinda Grover, and Flavia Agnes, who have consistently supported marginalized and vulnerable people, particularly women survivors of injustice. When we talk about journalists, we think first of the News Minute team led by Dhanya Rajendran, who they don't tire when in reporting about the survivors, be it the abuse cases at Dharmasthala or the Franco Mullakal case, the Kerala actor assault case. We think of Neha Dixit, who valiantly listens deeply, investigates, and reports on several cases of rape, sexual assault, crimes against women, particularly women from marginalized communities and the working class. We pause for a moment and give thanks that these people have used their skills, their profession, the power of their voices and acumen, legal acumen, or investigative journalism. We thank God for the fact that they went the extra mile to support women. And we send them our solidarity, our energies of solidarity. And once again, we leave it open for you to think of ways. Amita, maybe you put it in the chat because we've not muted anyone, so the unmuting is from your side. So, feel free, anyone who would like to share and think of a particular lawyer maybe, or a particular journalist. So paying tribute to Shobha Gupta, Bilkis Banu's advocate. Thank you, Amita. Yes, we remember her with gratitude.
I would like to remember Jaya Menon,
Yeah,
who really helped women who faced violence and who faced any kind of injustice. And she did pro bono work for a lot of people. And she really committed her life to justice. So I remember Jaya Menon with a lot of love and gratitude.
I like to think of Nidhi Suresh and the in-depth articles, interviews, and recording, investigative reporting she did of the Mulakal case. And power to their pens and the work that she's doing even with Dharmasthala. We send them energies of power and persistence because they face a lot of opposition.
I'd also like to acknowledge many nameless advocates who work in trial courts because they do all the legwork when it comes to investigation, when it comes to the actual trial, talking to survivors who care to take up their cases. Many of them are not people who have that kind of visibility that those who work very closely with marginalized communities in many places where young lawyers working with people facing displacement, people who need to file papers, migrant workers. So, acknowledging their effort to make life more just, more possible for people at the margins.
Maybe we can go to the pledge.
Sorry. Is it showing now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I pledge to never commit,
Condone
condone,
or
or
remain
remain silent about gender-based
Gender-based violence,
violence or harassment.
harassment.
I
I
pledge
pledge to take
take concrete,
concrete, thoughtful,
thoughtful,
and
and
informed
informed
action
action
as a bystander
bystander
to
to
prevent
prevent
violence,
violence,
recognizing
recognizing
that
that
awareness
awareness
is not
is not
enough.
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 now move to a section around social workers and community builders. We start with Sister Traciama from the Archana Women's Center, combining economic self-reliance with agency and assertion, breaking gender stereotypes on all fronts in a society so steeped in patriarchy. We also are inspired by Lucy Kurian. I think somebody took her name in the first round, founder and director of Maher, Maher meaning Mother's Home, inspired to leave the comfort of her convent to start a safe home for survivors of domestic violence on her own. Her commitment to make it an inclusive home for women of all faiths and accessible meant that she had to make it on her own. After a long, lonely struggle, her model of care is recognized by many. Recognition from the Vatican to the state and national governments, and most of all, by the thousands of survivors who have healed, have been nurtured and mentored by the care at Maher, makes her a beacon of light when it comes to addressing gender based violence. We also take great inspiration from Revati, an Indian trans woman activist, a writer, an actor, a theatre person from Tamil Nadu, known for giving her voice to transgender experiences, especially from the Hijra community. Through her powerful memoirs, her book, The Truth About Me, and several others, her work has often intersected issues of caste, class, gender, and uses art and theatre, including plays, and writing books to challenge discrimination and highlight the lives of sexual minorities in India, advocating for trans rights and for visibility. From Namakkal, the village she belongs to the Columbia University and many places across the world, no space is too big or too small for her. She engages even in school programs to create awareness around sexual minority issues. We also take inspiration from Renee Ralte, a retired professor from the UTC and also member of ICWM, who shifted from academics to activism when the Northeastern community in Bangalore and South India faced a violent racist backlash and has never looked back ever since. We would also like to spotlight Chinnamma from the Jagriti Mahila Sangatne, a Dalit women's agricultural labor collective engaged to protect and promote human rights, working to constantly negotiate the right to health, to employment, to dignity and care, and they presently cover 60 villages of Raichur district, a role model when it comes to transformation. We would also like to spotlight Aishwarya Rao, a Dalit by birth, disabled by a quirk of chance, a Christian by choice, and a doctor by calling. Aishwarya is a pediatrician, a disability rights activist, and the founder of Better World Shelter, a rehabilitation center for disabled women in Chennai. She says, disability taught me what systemic exclusion is. I learned about diversity as being natural. I understand how someone who is different is always an outsider, how discrimination comes naturally to people who are in a place of power, and how no one is exempt from the politics of exclusion and discrimination. I would pause here so that we could all share names, experiences that have inspired. Tracyama, lovely to have you here while we speak about you.
I
Please
like to
unmute and
remember,
share. Yeah, please go ahead.
like to remember Sister Joel, who has really moved with the Dalits in Jharkhand, and really given her life. You know, as Anika said earlier about Lucy, who has left the comforts of institutional convent life and really gone to the grassroots to be with the people and to be like them.
I'd like to bring Manju, who's over here with us. And I'd like to pray for Manju to be led to what her heart is seeking. Her work with the ones on the margins. We thank you for Manju's heart, for all that she does, and we ask you to be her strength.
Aruna, please unmute.
Okay. I want to remember Shabnam Hashmi, who has had such a deep influence on all of us by her work, by her life, by the way in which she has empowered so many women all over the country. It's an amazing woman to whom I owe so much personally.
I don't know whether I am audible.
Yes,
Yeah,
you are
you are.
audible, Tracyama. Please go ahead.
Finally, I got it out. Thank you very much. And I was really thinking of Anita, how much you are really, inspiring people with your writing, especially the least ones in the society. I know how our women who had been doing something extraordinarily different, like our welding team, Mercy, who was outstanding in that welding work, and Omana, who was the carpenter, who is the carpenter, and so on. The way you were writing about them and the way you were supporting people of these categories, nobody would notice, even if they are doing extraordinary work or breaking gender barriers so boldly. But you have contributed so much to Archana in the way you are intervening in many of our programs and showing us the way how to make people know about and how to strengthen people, how to motivate them, and so on. Thank you very much, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Am I embarrassing me? Thank you so much.
I would like to remember Sister Mira Matthew, who's a Good Shepherd sister, and who I'm sure many of you know from her work in leadership of Amrat and the Indian chapter of Talitha Kum to unite women and many others, I imagine, in the work against human trafficking.
Thank you. Nirja, would you like to unmute and say what you have put in the chat?
No, Anita, I just remembered Rosa Parks. I visited her museum in US, and she inspired Martin Luther. So that is why I wrote her name, Rosa Parks. Yeah.
I'd like to think of Ruth Manorama, who was one of our speakers on a panel. And the kind of work she has done with Dalit women for their empowerment. I'd like to acknowledge that and give God gratitude for the strength and the zeal that she continues to have. Another one I'd like to remember who's among us is Joycia. And the kind of work she does building communities across the country.
Yeah.
And the big heart that she has as she reaches out to them, giving so generously and selflessly. We thank God for that heart and the energy and all that she does.
I think of Eliamma Vijayan, who is running Saghi at Trivandrum, and Mercy Alexander. Both of them are contributing such a lot for gender mindset changing in the government, in the communities, in the upper wings of the society as well as the lower wings of the society, and so on. Really, their Saghi Resource Center has been a marvelous educative instrument tool to bring this kind of a thinking that forces people to really accept this gender transformation. We have been so much inspired by their work.
I know they're not a women's group, but
yeah,
I was thinking of MAVA, the Men Against Violence and Abuse, and the work that they do with men and boys to bring about a mindset change. And we pray that their tribe may increase.
I
want to
remember
bring forth.
Nalini Nayak,
Yes.
who worked with the she was one of the pioneers in the cooperative. I think most of us know. I'd like to honor her.
I would like to honor Medha Patkar, Aruna Roy, Arundhati Roy, and also at the Supreme Court, our sisters, JCoR and the other JCoR, who are fiercely fighting for the rights of people, and also the priests, lawyers, who are fighting in the High Court and Supreme Court on behalf of the poor and the marginalized. Also, I want to remember Sister Aquinas Adaseri at Kalahandi, Odisha, one who runs the center for the really girls who are really sitting in the darkness, showing them the light of Christ.
Like to remember a young journalist in Odisha called Jayanti Buruda. She's a tribal and one of the first journalists from her community. And she has initiated something called the Didis Collective, which works with young girls in those areas, also with those who might be migrating.
Yes.
creating community libraries, awareness around menstrual hygiene and safety, and supporting a safe space for young in the area to talk. Jayanti Baroda.
Shall we go to our pledge?
Yes.
Am I at the right place?
No, it's the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I pledge to
be an advocate in my
my
workplace
workplace
for
for
sexual
sexual
harassment,
harassment,
prevention
Prevention
initiatives,
initiatives,
and safe
safe
reporting
safe
mechanisms,
mechanisms,
as
as
well
well
as
as
other ways
other ways
against violence in all
violence
forms.
in
in all forms.
I pledge
Pledge
to
to
support
support women's
women's leadership and advancement, and to challenge
stereotypes
and
and
obstacles
that
that limit this progress.
progress.
Now move to the next section, Rena.
Yeah, and if you can go on to full screen. So we are talking about now remember those who have been working in the field, in the world of work, and have led to transformations over there. We think of Ella Bhatt, the one who founded Seva. The increasing economic difficulties that were faced by rural and urban women, coupled with the general agrarian and industrial worker movements not addressing women's issue, resulted in the formation of separate women's organizations across the country. These organizations aim to organize and empower poor women for positive change. In 1972, the first women's trade union was established by Ella Bhatt in Ahmedabad. Good things also come from Gujarat, known as the Self-Employed Women's Association. We remember Jeanne Devaux, the founder of the National Domestic Workers Movement. She focused on groups of domestic workers, trying to give them a voice and to listen and respond to the experiences of indignity, abuse, and exploitation at the hands of their employers. In 1985, she started multiple groups in Mumbai and Chennai to organize domestic workers and child domestic workers, culminating in the formation of the National Domestic Workers Movement. I began working with her, my journey in working. Sister Lizzie Joseph, a key figure in the National Domestic Workers Movement, is involved in fighting for the rights, dignity, and social security of domestic workers, advocating for labor laws, minimum wage, and empowerment. She has been instrumental in mobilizing workers now for over 2 decades. So we now open it to you to think of people in the work field who have brought about change in the world of work. I can't open chat here, so Amita has put something about.
Yeah, she
if
wants
someone
to
can read
remember.
it.
Bharadwaj. Amita has put in a mention of advocate Sudha Bharadwaj, who has worked all her life for the poorest. I think many of us remember that she was arrested for her work for a long time, part of the biggest 16, and now back writing her book. Certainly somebody we need to celebrate. And advocate Shobha Gupta, Bilkis Manos. Okay. Nija, why don't you unmute? And Amita, when we are
Amita
speaking,
can't.
if you, yeah.
Amita said she can't unmute, no?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Then I would just read whenever I see. Sorry, Amita. I would read. Just read. Please keep putting it. Nirja has mentioned women bishops and women CJI. I would like to acknowledge the role of Viji, who has been a very active organizer of unorganized women workers in the markets in Kerala, based in Kozhikode. She has a group called Penkota, and they have been doing pioneering work with workers in retail stores, from the rights to have restrooms, to rest, to chairs. Some really inspiring work in Kerala, because Kerala, though they have strong trade unions, informal workers have not been so organized. And it's women leaders like Viji who started that trend.
I'd like to remember Geeta, who's working for the construction workers in Chennai.
I would also like to take the name of Rukmani and Yashoda from Bangalore, who founded the Garment Labor Union. They were ex-garment workers and then built up leadership skills and now lead unions which have more than 5,000 membership, and continue to organize and engage with government, with international stakeholders like brands and companies, to improve the working conditions of women in the factories in Bangalore.
Annie Raja, Nirja speaks about. So we remember Annie Raja and her work with women. Shall we go to the pledge?
Okay. Just give me a minute. Yeah.
I pledge to always use respectful dialogue to resolve issues, never violence or intimidation. I pledge to educate myself on intersectionality, recognizing that gender-based violence intersects with other identities and forms of oppression.
Now move to the next section, Artists for Justice. We would like to acknowledge the role of Jasmine Pateja, who started an intervention called Blank Noise. It's been one of the first initiatives globally to bring attention to street harassment. It started in response to everyday experiences of street harassment that had no vocabulary except eve teasing. The word teasing, that which boys do for fun and is harmless, erased and denied the magnitude of the issue. Some of you might remember Jasmine from one of the earlier campaigns webinars where she had taken a session for us. Also, very much our own, Francois Bostiels, our doll maker, a former healthcare worker hailing from Belgium. Francois makes dolls that depict various aspects of village life in India to spread social awareness. She also has also published 2 books with pictures of her dolls accompanied by poems. Using these dolls, she highlights pressing issues of today's world such as domestic violence, gender equality, child labor, caste, sexual abuse, as well as how the everyday lives of men and women in India is limited by gender, class, and caste. She says, my aim is to raise awareness regarding what society is and what it ought to be. Before I hand it over to friends to share, I would like to acknowledge very much and celebrate Claire among us, who's used theatre of the oppressed to touch so many lives from marginalized communities. She does that tirelessly, both with rural communities, with college students, with activists the world over, from remote villages to international festivals on theatre. Claire is a very much loved and respected theatre artist and activist. I think her spirituality for justice comes through in a very touching way. Thank you, Claire, for being yourself.
Oh, so much.
I like to think of
Anita.
Marcia, who speaks about justice in her songs and uses the power of music to pass on the message of gender justice, gender equality, etc. And she's been instrumental for all the music for the last 4 or 5 years that we've been doing the 16 years, 16 days of awareness for violence against, to eliminate violence against women. More power to her piano. I'm also thinking of Vinu. For those of you who attended the JCoR and the ICWM conference in May, we had one of our resource persons was Vinu. And with her listening circles, she's now writing a play, and she explores different art forms to create an awareness, social awareness. And so she's very young, and so we wish her power. We extend our solidarity and we ask for blessings on her.
Yes, true.
I want to remember a young man from Delhi named Soren who has started a group called Circus Art, which is a play on words from circus art, in which he is working with mostly children and other young people, and where they are learning and training in different circus arts to perform in the street as a way to draw people in for social education and awareness raising. Very creative endeavor.
I'd like to remember Mara from Bangalore, where my son was involved for some time. And it's a theater and arts collective. And the work that they do, reaching out to Dalits and rape victims, and the different art forms that they use to tell the stories of those on the margins. A difficult job with the FCRA is all in jeopardy over here, but they struggle and they continue.
Neerja, you mentioned Emilia Andrews. Would you like to tell us about her? Shall we move on?
Yeah. I pledge to have difficult conversations with male co-workers and friends about harmful behaviors, attitudes, and inequalities related to gender.
I pledge
I pledge to be mindful
mindful
that reflecting my privilege
privilege
and
and
power
power
can be
can be
uncomfortable,
uncomfortable,
but
but
discomfort
discomfort
in
in
allyship
relationship
is part of the effort
effort
to end
in the
gender-based
gender-based
violence
violence
and
and
workplace
workplace
violence.
violence.
And now we come to that big group, those who remain unnamed and work tirelessly for rights. We think of the women of Shaheen Bagh and the Shaheen Baghs that they inspired across the country. We think of community leaders who go the extra mile to support justice. We think about women within the family and neighborhood who take it as their responsibility to support their children, siblings, friends, at the cost of risking their own security. I think of worker leaders, trans activists, Dalit and Adivasi community leaders, and also the active bystander who intervenes when he or she sees abuse, harassment, aggression. We think of women who have stood for equality in religious spaces. Asha workers, Anganwadi teachers, who often stretch their time, their resources to nurture and heal those with even less resources than them. We think of social workers who accompany women to hospitals, courts, government bodies, etc., helping them to seek their rights. We think of grassroots counselors, the untrained ones, who are ready to listen and support in whatever way they can those dealing with harassment and or abuse. And we think of, someone put it in the chat, the BPO staff who are being overworked in the SIR that is going on. And so many of them are ordinary workers and teachers and do a double job because they do their teaching as well as the BPO work. And so many of them have fallen ill and have died. So we remember them all and give gratitude for all that they do so tirelessly, without being named, without being praised, with not enough remuneration, no acknowledgement. And we pray for divine blessings on them and deep gratitude for all that they do. And now feel free to think about those you know. There's so many unnamed
Amita
that
just
work in this
mentioned
field.
manual scavengers still fighting for their rights. I think it's a very, very, very persistently marginalized group who have really had to organize and fight for just their basic needs for dignity. Also, our nurses. Thank you, Amita. Many of whom work tirelessly at very low wages, have long duty time, sleepless nights. Yes, and domestic workers who make it possible for many of us to be able to do what we do. Teresa, would you like to just say it?
Remembering women and girls who have experienced any kind of sexual or gender-based violence in any context, which there are so many, of armed conflict, gang violence, and communal violence.
I like to think of all those LGBTQ activists who struggle to speak out their problems, to speak out against, to form communities among their fellow people and provide the support for each other. So I'd like to think about them.
Kathy, Green Grocers, would you like to say something more about them?
Noella was saying something earlier about unnamed. Would she like to speak?
Yeah, and also, Arlene, please unmute and share.
It's not
There's something that
very.
I'm at a function, so there's noise here. So please just read out my message.
Okay. Coming from Arlene, I would like to include her in this list. Justice workers who facilitate mediation, conflict resolution, and restorative justice. Important healing work done tirelessly and many a times not catching headlines.
I'd like to remember Mother Teresa's congregation sisters who work for the elderly who are neglected, homeless, sick, and different disabled people. And our own sisters who are working for the blind and the deaf and the mentally retarded. There are many lay people also who are working, who are
Thank you, Arlene. People who work with the homeless, very tough work. Especially in places which are very cold and very hot during difficult weather times. It's so difficult to work in the shelters and try to make something work for the homeless.
Shall we go ahead? Because I'm looking at the time.
Yes, we are kind of, when I was looking at the time, we are almost to the end. Just a few minutes more. I hope everybody is okay with staying. If anybody has to leave, we would totally understand. We just didn't want to hurry the session because it would lose its meaning. But we realize it's 9 and you might have other
Kathy
things
says,
to do.
I lost that in the chat. Those who go, if someone can read it from the chat.
From the chat, I would do it after the pledge.
Yeah. There are 4 pledges because we are doing them one for each day. That is 16 pledges. So we've got 4 to read now. I pledge to challenge sexist, homophobic, and transphobic attitudes in the workplace and to support equal rights, opportunities, and protection for all people.
I pledge to speak up
if my co-workers treat women badly or promote violence.
I will speak out against
sexist jokes, misogyny,
and
rape culture. I pledge to advocate for workplace
support sexual and reproductive
sexual and reproductive health and rights for all,
for all.
I pledge to become a publicly ally
for
for
gender
gender
justice
justice and
and
workplace
workplace
equality,
equality,
while
while
being
being
mindful
mindful
of
of
the
experience
experience
I
and
take
centering
in
survivors'
centering
voices.
survivors'
Survivors'
voices.
voices. We now move to the concluding slide. In the interest of time, maybe just after this, we can open for a little discussion, or should we just
I think
continue
we'll
with the
go,
song,
we'll
Reena?
finish the whole thing and then
Okay.
have open discussion.
Okay. To conclude, before I conclude, I would like to admit very humbly that the list we have put in together is in no way reflective of the many, many people who inspire. It was just a list that would help us reflect. We would try to add the names that you suggested, and I think we can keep adding so that we can create this legacy for ourselves. Um, so, yes, if anyone feels missed out, anybody feels something was less acknowledged, it was not intentional. It was only a way of expressing a particular emotion and a shared memory that we can hold on to. I would like to conclude from a quote that I saw on the blank noise, which I think resonates with our ask. Calling citizens persons who are ready to step in to end gender based violence, calling you to be an action Shiro, an action Thairo, an action hero. Like this, let's keep adding to our repository of Shiros, Thairos, and heroes, both from the past and the present, so we can pass on a legacy of love. Okay. Noella?
Wow.
Wow.
Mhm.
Oh,
All good things have to come to an end, and so too days of activism against gender-based violence. And we have many people to thank for bringing in such innovation, for bringing in their inputs, for making it what it has been for all of us. And the first group of people I would like to thank are our speakers, Jean, Damini, and their panelists, Ruth, Kasavi, and Rituparna. The next day we had Vibhuti. Then we had Susan Thomas, Bhavna, Hasina, and Veda. Anna Mary Tuma, Elsa Mutatu, Disha Arora, Anisha Thomas, and Natasha Bharatwaj. Our communication partners are very special this year, and we'd particularly like to thank them. Faith Futures Collective. To all of you, to all of us, for stopping by to join us in issues that matter the world to us. Thank you so much. And finally, to our team. In spite of struggling because of working on 133 and a half different matters at the same time, we did it. Reena for sharing her Zoom, Marcia for the theme song, Cleo and Rachel for helping with YouTube, and my companions, Marcia and Anita, for co-curating and organizing this webinar series. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Thank
Anita, I think
you.
she'll have to.
thank you.
We have a nice song for you, but I think Anita, if you haven't
I'll
pressed
stop sharing
sound,
and then start again.
yeah. But when you're
Okay.
starting again, then you click that sound button.
Just give me a minute. I'm not so adept at it, but I will do my best.
And if Elsa is here, then she will recognize the song.
So I put it on slide share.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before me. I am stronger for their courage. I am wiser for their words. I am lifted by their longing for a fair and brighter future. I am grateful for their vision, for their toiling on this earth. We are standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. They are saints and they are humans. They are angels, they are friends. We can see beyond the struggles and the troubles and the challenge when we know that by our efforts things will be better in the end. Then if we higher I could ever die, carrying my burdens away. I imagined our world if they hadn't tried. We wouldn't be celebrating today. I am standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before me. I am honored by their passion for our liberty. I will stand a little taller, I will work a little longer, and my shoulders will be there to hold the ones who follow me. Lift me higher. I could ever fly, carrying my burdens away. I imagine our world if they had tried. Wouldn't be so very blessed today. I'm standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before me. I am honored by their passion for our liberty. I will stand taller, I will work a little longer, and my shoulders will be there to hold the ones who follow me. My shoulders will be there to hold the ones who follow me.
Thank you all. And now please unmute and relax, and we can just chat for those who have to.
It's very moving and inspiring. Thanks to all of you who worked behind.
Thank you.
Very moving, very inspiring. Thank you.
Extremely meaningful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for putting so much effort and care, to express, to bring all this together. Beautiful. Anita, Reena, and the whole team.
Very inspiring and really heartwarming, the progressive thoughts and aspirations for a better world. Very, very inspired. Thank you.
Thank you, Ko. We have
Yeah.
this.
Thank you to this whole
in-
team. I love how many different groups have collaborated to make it possible. It's amazing just to witness. So thank you for the hard work of the collaboration itself.
Thanks, Teresa, for making it at odd times for all our meetings. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had this, we had a series of meetings in the civil society, human rights area, and we had this theme of, I think Claire has been part of some of them, which was talking about continuing freedom struggles, because we tend to legitimize people who are working for freedom post-independence, try to kind of adapt the same concept a little bit, but also realizing that we hardly ever, spotlight women in our lives, and especially those working on gender-based violence. So
Can I
then
interrupt?
I've
Just
added
stop
all the
recording.
color. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stop recording. Sorry.
I'll do that.
Oh.
Stop recording.